All right, I'm back. Round two, part two, guys. Sorry about that. I had maxed out my limit on the phone here, so I had to delete some stuff and come back to it. It's a good thing either way, because I went back, watched the video, and realized that I made a bunch of mistakes. Mostly on, I mean, as far as what you saw is accurate, but my translation from liters to cubic feet was way off by a lot. So on some of those boxes, like on that one T line that was about 200 and something liters, I said it was something like 2 point something cubes, which was a small box, but I was way off on that. That was actually significantly larger than that. So the number is, you want to divide your liters by 28.3. So that 220 something liter T line, transmission line, would have been somewhere close to 8 cubes. So that's actually still a pretty dang big box for 110. And then some of those other boxes that were reaching up in the 900 liter range, those huge numbers, we're talking about 30 cubes, guys. That's in a ginormous box there. But anyway, I just wanted to clear that up, get back on round two here. I'm just gonna keep going from where I left off. So hopefully you guys weren't like, oh, what the hell, what happened, man? But so here we are, we're back again, part two, right where we left off. So it was showing that if we had a subwoofer that had a, you know, ultra neo mag, an ultra powerful magnet, what the results would look like based on this program. Like I said, I'm, you know, constructing subwoofers that don't exist yet, but even if we were to do that, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's an improvement when it comes to magnetic force. So improving the magnetic force or the overall BL won't necessarily mean that with that specific box you're going to get more power, more sound output. So as you can see in that example, if we were to increase our magnetic BL, which I'll just say BL for now, you'll see that curve reduced quite a bit, and we only really had a gain towards those the peak tunings, your upper and lower. The upper didn't really change very much, but your lower did have a pretty significant gain, and that's really all that you would gain in that case. Now, because you have a different BL, that would pretty much force you into changing your entire box structure in order to make that BL even useful. Like I said, guys, once again, if you have a small piston area, your you know, total cone area, if that ratio to magnetic force is low, or so if you have a small cone but a lot of power, it takes more effort and more enclosure design to properly channel and functionally apply that power to anything useful, sound output, right? That's why some of these more, you know, simplistic large cone area subs, especially back in the day, hold on guys, my dogs are going crazy out here, and my dogs over here beating each other up. Shout out to you guys that didn't have any animals, pets, you know. Love animals, love pets. Sometimes they're a pain, but you know, hit me in the comments if you got any dogs, animal lovers, you know. Let me know what kind of dogs you got, dogs, cats, whatever, horses. But anyway, so yeah, just because you got more power, more, you know, relative to the diaphragm, it's not going to mean it's going to translate to anything better. Going back to the old school stuff, you actually wanted to have, you know, as much cone area as possible. It was more about efficiency back in the days. I mean, when I say back in the day, I'm talking about like 1950s, 1940s, because magnets were scarce. It was hard to develop a magnet. It was hard to, you know, have anything above 5 watts worth of power, and that's where a lot of the innovation came in, because you had to have a good enclosure design to maximize efficiency, to get, you know, to get as much sound output as possible. And then as magnets got a little bit bigger, things started to change. Power was still a big, you know, it was difficult to get power. Everything was still running tube amps, and then, you know, solid state started to come into play. And then now we're hitting hitting the late 80s, early 90s, and that's when car audio started to get bigger. The subwoofer started to get a little bit bigger, but power was still the limit. It was kind of, you didn't really see anything above 1,000 watts, 1,500 watts. That was incredible back in the day. We're talking about class AB power. If you don't know what that means, AB, class D, do some homework. Do some homework on your audio amplifiers. What makes them work? That's a whole nother thing. Eventually, I want to get into on the next couple of videos, different topics, how that stuff works and what I think could change in car audio. But yeah, so anyway, look that stuff up. But in reference to those times and those days, you still wanted to have the most efficient system as possible, so that way you can utilize that 1,000 to 1,500 watts or so, because then even then you were limited to your alternator power, your battery power. Not everybody was putting 4 or 5 batteries in their cars yet. Weight was an issue. Those things weren't even coming up yet. It was more about a good efficient design with a couple of subs, and then you started having guys put in PA type speakers. That's where your Sherwin Vega strokers come in. They're designed to be very loud and very efficient for what they were, and that's why the big numbers started coming in. Even then, they were doing bandpass designs just for SPL. So, but anyway, the idea here is, how do we design a speaker to be the most for whatever it is that we're using it for, right? And that doesn't necessarily mean that we need more motor force, more magnet. Some of these subwoofers, guys, like I have 2 that I've been waiting to build, finish the build, and I had intended, they're 212s with 600 ounce magnets. I don't know if you've seen them. Maybe I'll put them up in the channel. Let me know if you guys want to see them. I'll throw them up on there. They have 4-inch coils. I ordered all the parts. I got everything together because I was gonna try to do some big numbers, try to get into the 160s, at least 155, in the low range with just 212s, and that was the idea behind that. But they are ridiculous. I mean, 90 something pounds per sub is insane. And now since that day, this has been going on 4 years now that I had them. Well, 3 years. They've already come up with subs that are 132 pounds. I want to say there's even a 187 pound subwoofer, and we're not talking about like the MTX jackhammer or whatever that thing was called. It was like a 300-pound sub. Like, we're talking about the latest and greatest subs that are just, to me, that super impractical, but it is what it is, and people are building what they're building. I hope they're getting the most out of those subs, but to me, I feel like that's too much. That the weight is way too much for a vehicle, and I'm not even getting into the whole safety thing. I'm not a big safety cop. Like, do whatever you want to do. If you want to have an extra 1,500 pounds in the back of your whatever SUV, like, that's on you, man. Like, you get into an accident, just know, not only do you have that potential weight to flop around, and you also got those batteries, and you're talking about several hundreds of thousands of amps of current, and then you have lithium. If you guys don't know how flammable and how dangerous lithium is, learn now. If you don't know, if you're just playing around with this stuff and you're getting familiar with it, learn the safety aspect first, because you might want to dial it back a little bit, because lithium is no joke. If you ever had one of those tiny little e-cigarette batteries go up in flames on you, that stuff burns, man, and it burns hot, and it does not go out. You put water on it, it actually makes it worse. You really have to choke it out in order for those things to stop burning. So hopefully, I don't want to see anybody getting into any fires and stuff. I've been seeing some amplifiers blow up here and there lately on YouTube. A couple guys that had their amps burn up on them. So keep that stuff in mind. Make sure you got your disconnects. Make sure you got your fire extinguishers and stuff. Stay safe, guys. I don't want nobody getting injured for car audio. Being a bass head, being a bass addict is no joke. We love our systems. We love this stuff to a point to where it's potentially dangerous and deadly. So I don't want to see any casualties out there. Especially not for this kind of stuff. Let's get it done right. But anyway, So here we are. We have the potential to manipulate and kind of play around with the matrix here. We can imaginate whatever our heart's desire is, you know, and we can plug in the numbers. And I'm doing things backwards now. I'm doing the numbers first, and then I'm doing the building, which way back when I was young, I've been doing this, guys, no joke, since I was like about 8 years old. Like, I started pulling speakers and putting them in cardboard boxes, and then by 9-10 years old I was already cutting up you know, MDF, any kind of old cabinets and stuff that I could find, and I was building boxes, not really knowing what I was doing, you know, building sealed boxes, building ported boxes. I remember when I was about 10 years old, I stumbled across a parallel 6th order on accident. Had no idea what I was doing, and I combined a 5-gallon barrel with a ported box and pretty much made a parallel 6th order, and that thing sounded freaking insane. And I had a really cheap sub in there. So yeah, give me another second, guys. Dogs are going crazy. All right, I'm back. Totally forgot what the hell I was talking about. Freaking dogs, man. I got dogs all over the neighborhood. Dogs in the front yard, front neighbors, back, behind, to the side. And then I got a bunch of people that are always walking back in the alley. It makes my dogs go crazy. I got 5 dogs, so. Anyway, let me try to remember what the hell I was talking about. Something to do with, shit, I don't know. I don't remember. Making up your own stuff. Making up your own speakers. Whew. Yeah. For you guys, I was only gone for like a split second, but in reality, that was like a good 20 minutes. The hell was I talking about? I might have to review the video. Anyways, so something to do with making up your own stuff based on the numbers, the matrix. So yeah, I know my numbers were way off when it came to the liters in cubic feet. So now I know. Hopefully I don't get that wrong anymore. Yeah, 28.3 liters per cubic foot. So that should be the number to work with. But I'm also dependent on you guys to be able to, if you know a lot more, then great, teach me something, you know, put it in the comments, you know, call me out on a mistake, or if you see something that don't sound right, or if I say something that's just contradicting or whatever. Like, I'm right now I'm filming off the top of my head, so you know, it's not for me. I have no other choice. I don't have any nice programs to work with. If you guys know any good programs to edit with and stuff, let me know. But like my laptop, I can't even get Wi-Fi on my laptop. The laptop's probably too old to even for me to put a good program on. So on and so forth. Even my cell phone, I don't know. I've heard of CapCut, but I don't like messing with it. I'd rather, you know what, just like the old school guys when they used to have to record a music, you know, they just go into the studio, they hit the record button, the tape starts recording, and you go from there. I got used to it now, so I'm just gonna go that route. And you know, hopefully you appreciate and enjoy me just off the top of the head rambling and whatnot, whatever. I would love to do lives, so that way you guys can, you know, chime in and I could deal with problems one-on-one. So if you had a box that you would like to see the numbers on, I could sit here and try to build it, you know, real time. But yeah, I don't know about that yet. I don't even know how to go live yet and get that to work, and I don't even know if my Wi-Fi can handle it. So anyway, so let's try to figure something out here while we're here, to continue on from the last video. So what I was mostly doing, like I said, I was starting to plug in some of these numbers to see what changes they would, you know. The big one was cone area for me. At first, I really wanted to solve that cone area problem, because I knew, like I said, intuitively, I knew it deep down in my soul, in my heart, in my beating subwoofer of a heart. I know that cone area isn't everything. I know that it has more to do with more about the enclosure and more about the motor force. But So I started messing around with the cone area. Like I said, same magnetic force, same suspension parameters basically, and just change the cone area numbers. And yeah, so now I have an idea of what it does. And then I started kind of manipulating the BL, because that's the next thing that you guys tend to see is you see these crazy SPL subwoofers that, you know, they're boasting big wattage numbers. Not only are they boasting that neodymium magnet, you know, heavy high powered magnets, you know, they're also throwing in those high numbers when it comes to wattage. So that equates to more motor force. And I wanted to know, okay, well, if you have that much motor force, exactly what is it going to do? How's it going to help? And yeah, as you've seen in that last example, it doesn't necessarily help. So, and then at the same time, if you already had a box with the specific speaker in it, like let's say you had a budget sub in a prefab enclosure, just because you go and throw another higher powered sub in there doesn't mean you're going to get more bang for your buck. And I've seen it happen. I had a buddy that he built a really nice kind of a transmission line, kind of a horn, more towards a transmission line box. It was done really well. He had some Scar, what series were those Scars? I think they were the EVLs. I think he had the EVLs 10 inches, and then he switched up to the ZVX. I want to say that's the higher, you know, highest Scar model. There's so many of those numbers: ZVX, ZVL, SDR, all that. It gets confusing. But anyway, my whole point is that I think he went to the EVLs, to the ZVX, and the performance wasn't there. It wasn't like he wasn't expecting it. It actually went down. So that's a good example. Like, you know, the EVLs, I believe they're a little bit softer on their suspension. So, you know, he lost some of that low end. His box was tuned for, you know, 20 hertz real low, and it was doing fantastic. Sounded really good with 210s. I think we metered him. He was doing I want to say 138s, 135, 138 for sure. It might have been 143, but I just remember it was doing really well, sounded really good. He only had a 2K amp on it. It was a really big cab. It was a Silverado truck. So really big cab, single cab. So, but anyway, let's see. Let's play around a little bit more with some of these numbers. So right now we have up here the Sundown M10. We have the original numbers up here, so I'll go to a loudspeaker wizard. Let's see. We got pretty much a T-line up here. Let's do this. Let's do it auto generate. A bass reflex. See what it comes up with. I don't know if it did it. No, it didn't do it, so I'll have to... Let's start a new one. Let's start a new one. And then we'll go from there. Let's just have a little fun. I'll call this number 5. Plug in the numbers for the M10. So hopefully this helps you guys learn a little bit too more about this program if you're interested in trying it out for yourself. So let's do an auto generate. Bass reflex box. Parameters are good. Mask chamber resonance, no. And when you put yes to mask chamber resonance, you see all this curve kind of goes away. You really don't see this very often, but it can calculate it, and that's what you end up seeing. But so this is the box that it generated. Look at the schematic. There we go. So this chamber is 82 0.3 liters. I got my calculator up here now, so I'm gonna do the math for you guys. So 156.17. That is a 5.5 cubic foot chamber, just in the chamber alone. And with 73 liters,